Good morning, CUT. How are you on this beautiful, brisk, sunny morning? I thank God for you. I thank God for this day and for the work that we've come together on this morning to do. I believe that each of us is divinely purposed to not only be a part of this worship experience, but to add something very unique that no one else in the room, verily no one else on the planet can add what you came to add. And so I believe that there is no chance that any of us is here by mistake. I believe each of us is divinely designed to be here on this moment so that we might reconnect, say reconnect, to a vital part of the divine design that existed before each and every one of us in the beginning. Help me say thank you to the Christ Universal Temple Ensemble. I'm encouraged by that song because that song reminds us that we do have something to do, but you never know how much time you have to do it. As we celebrate the life today of the late, great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we see one whose light was so bright and who helped to share a message that caused a shift in the world. And we know that everything happens according to how it's supposed to happen, but we could have used just a little more time. And so in cities all over the world, this time of the year seems to bring us back to a moment of remembrance and a moment of reflection as we give our memories over to recalling the life of a leader who stood for something and who stood at a time when it was perilous to do so. It's easy to stand in times of comfort, but the question is, where will you stand when there's something at stake? Where will you stand when there's something to lose? Where will you come down when it's time for the big test? And so today we celebrate the life and legacy of this great man, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., this 20th century luminary. Dr. King spoke truth to power. And he did it powerfully and he did it prophetically. Dr. King planted trees, the shades under which he would never enjoy. And as a result of his courage, he helped to facilitate a paradigm shift, a shift that changed the national consciousness and thereby led us out of the darkness of some very precarious thinking. Dr. King was a dreamer and a difference maker. And he helped the country confront the fact that institutional bias that devalues human capital and overlooks even the most latent human potential is dangerous and destructive. I wish somebody would say to number 45 that it's important to understand that you should not judge a person by their origin, but you ought to learn to judge them by their potential, particularly when you and your lineage came from a place that some might describe as an S-hole. I wish somebody could get in his ear and say, remember that you had the benefit, or your lineage had the benefit of changing your narrative from Drumpf to Trump. And just like you had an opportunity to change, you have to be willing to keep the shores of this diverse country open, because it is to stand as a symbol of light and freedom. some of us want to close the door once we get on the other side. And so I submit to you today that while this is also a time of remembrance and reflection, it is perhaps most importantly a time of rededication. Because the people of God cannot afford to sleep on the movement that is underfoot. The people of God cannot afford to be on the back end of a destination that's intended to take them some 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100 years back. I don't know about you, but there is no place back for me to go. I am committed to moving forward and ahead because that's where I believe I am divinely destined to go. And so the opportunity that is before us today is to awaken the inner dreamer. See, sometimes we are being influenced by those who would discourage us from dreaming. And like the rapper Common says, sometimes it comes from your own kind and maybe even from your own mind. But there is something within each and every one of us that is begging to come forth. And it is not something that you've given yourself, but rather it is a divine assignment that has been given to you from the beginning of time. Watch this. And it's no less important, the dream that you have is no less important than the dream that the dreamer we're talking about today had. For too long, we have been underestimating the power of possibility and the life that can come just because we dream. A dream is intended to help us understand what we can be if we're willing to put the work in to what we can do. And so if you are a dreamer, please know on the front end that you won't be able to stroll to your goal. Your resolution will require action, your vision will require vigilance, and your dream will require your determination. And as dreamers, we must individually be willing to take the responsibility for bringing forth the dream that has been placed in our hearts. And I wish I could tell you that it will be easy, but that would not be true. In order to bring forth the dream that you and you alone have been destined to bring, it is going to require you to be something that you may not yet be. In order to bring forth the dream that you and only you can make manifest, it will require you to go someplace you have not yet gone. In order to bring forth the dream that you and only you have been divinely designed to manifest, it will require you to go through some things that will make you someone worth being. See, a dream is going to cause you to stretch. A dream is going to cause you to get out of your comfort zone. It's going to challenge the very foundation of what you believe. But if you say that God is all there is, then you've got to be willing to stop sleeping on your dream and get up and put your stuff on so that you can move into the dynamic future that has been prepared for you. Because if you're not comfortable, you'll learn how to live without your dream. And what kind of world would it be if we had never come to realize that equality is not negotiable? What kind of world would it be if this 20th century drum major for justice had not been resounding it into the world that Black Lives Matter before it was a hashtag? Where would we be if this dreamer had not had the courage and the tenacity to stand up in the face of opposition? A dream is going to require something from you. It's going to take something from you. It's going to make something out of you. And it's going to cause you to do what perhaps you didn't believe you could do. Because each of us is a gift. Each of us, like our matchless fingerprint, has something unique that we are to offer. We all have to be willing to mine our imagination, our creativity, and our souls if we're going to uncover the divine purpose and passion for which we've been created. See, our dreams are powerful, but they have to be nurtured and honored. Our dreams are powerful, but they have to be respected and honed. Our dreams are powerful, but we have to believe that that which we see only in our souls is possible. Some dreams are small, but they touch lives in big ways. Other dreams are big, but they only make a little impact. But it's an impact, no less. One of the reasons so few of us truly achieve our dream is because we don't direct our focus. We don't concentrate our power. Most of us dabble our way through life, never deciding to commit and master the dream that we've been called to. That's why I love the words of Emily Cady, who said, "Every man believes themselves to be in bondage to flesh and to the things of the flesh." In being in bondage, we allow ourselves to be dictated to by our past self. We let the past determine what we can be in the future. When we're in bondage, we allow ourselves to be confined in boxes that are too small to fit where you are now. In staying in bondage, we realize that we think we are somebody that we're no longer are. As I heard someone say, if you act like a minority, you'll always be a minority. And so in order to dream, we have to be willing to never again settle for less. In order to make your dream manifest, you have to be willing to refuse to settle for less. If your dream is going to come true, you have to be willing to push through so that that dream can become manifest. Because it's going to challenge you. It's going to push you. It's going to make you see things that look one way. It's going to force you to see them another way. See, your dream will always put you in your present and pull you to your future. The challenge for many of us is we have no idea about the giant capacity that is immediately available to us. I don't know about you, but I'm excited about being in a room full of giants. I get a kick out of being in the room with people who are bigger than they think they are. I love having an opportunity to spend time with people who are spiritual giants, even if they play small. I know there's some dreamers here. And if you're going to realize your dream, let me just give you 3 things that you'll need to be able to do if you're going to manifest your dream. Say, manifest your dream. If you're going to manifest your dream, there's just a few things that you have to be able to do. The first is that you have to be willing to be a dreamer. Say, be a dreamer. Be a dreamer. Know that a dream is a work assignment from God. See, even the softest dreams, as they appear to us, come with a work order on them. Any dream that comes to you requires you to work it so that it can be made manifest. Having a dream is like having a child. It's going to require you to put time, energy, effort, and resources into it so that it can be raised into a mature adult that expresses its divine potential. Dreams connect us to our destiny. Dreams come to us so that they can see what is within us, so that we can see what is within us. Dreams pull us to our destiny, the goal toward which we have been divinely created. Why do dreams come to us? Dreams come to us to shake us loose from the monotony of living. Dreams come so that we can get out of the routine of being satisfied with just enough. Dreams come to help us to see the vast potential that exists on the other side of being able to think beyond where you presently are. See, dreams come to move you. They never come to make you comfortable. And so if a dream settles in your lap, know that it is not coming so that you can sit with it babysit style. It's coming so that you can nurture it and pull it along so that it can take you to where you're designed to go. God knows that we sometimes need something to get us moving. And a dream is designed to help you move. I love when, it blessed me real good when I learned that as Dr. King was giving what has just come to be accepted as the most powerful speech in the 20th century. And as he was giving the speech, at some point that speech took a turn. And know that life will take a turn when you accept what you've been given. And at some point in the speech, as he was giving this I have a dream speech, you do know that the I have a dream part of that speech was not a part of his prepared notes. As Dr. King was giving that speech, none of the closing remarks, every valley exalted, or every hill mountain being made low, it was not in the prepared speech. None of the remarks about letting freedom ring was in the prepared speech. There was nothing in there about little white boys and little black girls sitting with little white boys and little black girls. It was not in there. Just because it's not in there in the beginning doesn't mean that it's not supposed to eventually make itself manifest, though. And in the background, as Dr. King is delivering a powerful speech, in the background, Miss Mahalia Jackson whispers to them, she says, Martin, tell them about the dream. See, I don't know about you, but you need somebody who's got your back, who can whisper to you, there's a dream in you. And so Mahalia says to him again, Doctor, tell them about the dream. See, because what Dr. King didn't realize at the moment is that where he was prepared to go, God had shifted it and prepared him to go somewhere else. So it's good for you to plan and it's good for you to prepare, but when God gets ready to shift the thing on you, you gotta be willing to shift in the way that God intends for you to go. Because what you might not realize is that the shift in focus might be the very thing that shifts your entire life. See, if you can shift your focus and begin to move to where God is pulling you to, what I'm trying to get you to see is that it's going to cause you to get beyond what you have prepared. See, you should plan, and you should leave space for God's plan. You should prepare, and you should leave space for what God has prepared. You should work, and you should leave space for what God is working on. You should study, and you should leave space for what God intends for you to see. A dream is intended to help us have what I call the Abraham effect. A dream is intended to make you leave your country and your kindred. It's divinely designed to make you uncomfortable and get up from where you are. But watch this. If you will follow the dream, what you will find is that God will get you out of that comfortable space, and then he will tell you to look up from where you are. Because I don't know if you realize this or not, but where you are right now is because of what you've been looking at. But if you can look up from where you are, see, what you are to have is not on the same level as what you're seeing right now. What you have been seeing in your mind's eye is the precursor to where you are right now. And so it was necessary for God to bring Abram, watch this, the father of many manifestations. Oh, I think let me unpack it. See, Abram represents the ability to be blessed in more than one way. No. You missed that. Well, no, here it is. You think I'm talking about Abram. What you might not realize is I'm talking about the capacity within you, the Abram capacity in you to be blessed in more than one way. Yeah. If you know it's your own blessing, you get a little more excited. So Abram represents the ability to be blessed in more than one way. But in order to be blessed in more than one way, you have to be able to look up and see beyond where you are. If you can look up and see, say, look up and see. If you can raise your consciousness, if you can think at a higher level, if you can raise your vibrational awareness, if you can see it, you can be it. If you can see it, you can have it. If you can see it, if you can accomplish it. But you have to be willing to look up from the poverty, the lack, the hurt, the pain, the sickness. You've got to look up from those things so that you can see what you've been dreaming about. See, the dream is not intended for the level that you're on right now. The dream is intended for you that will do the work in order to manifest the dream. So it's a seed planted in your soul that you must be willing to use all of your faculties to make manifest. And once you get there, you got to be willing to look up, because when you do, you will look to the north, and there's going to be a blessing. You'll look to the south, and there's going to be a blessing. You'll look to the east, and that's going to be given to you. You'll look to the west, and that's going to be given to you. You're looking for increase in your business, look up north. You're looking for health in your relationships, look down south. You're looking for peace of mind with your children, look to the east. You're looking for peace in your home, look to the west. It's already around you, but you can't get it if you stay where you are. Are you with me? So you've got to be willing to look up from where you are. Because the very moment that Dr. King shifted his awareness from his personal focus, he was able to, watch this, he was able to take all of us into a transfixed awareness of a place that already existed. It just didn't exist in that moment. Are you still with me? You got to be a dreamer. And the dream is a work assignment that's offered to us by God. See, God is funny in that he will feed the birds, but he won't drop the food into their nest. Sometimes the work of a dreamer begins in making our desires stronger than our fear. I don't know about you, but sometimes fear can have the ability to get the best of us. Sometimes fear can be a paralyzer. Sometimes the fear that we are confronted with as we are trying to dream big dreams, sometimes just something as small as fear can keep us from having the courage and the faith. I want to say that again. Sometimes the fear can keep us from having the courage and the faith. Let me say it one more time, because sometimes the fear can keep us from having the courage and the faith. I think it bears repeating. Sometimes the fear can keep us from having the courage and the faith. That sometimes the fear will be able to overcome the faith, but what we have to be able to do is rewire and recondition that, because your fear was never intended to be dominant over your faith. Your fear is only intended to motivate you from where you are right now. It's not intended to top you or stop you. It's intended to push you. But you have to be willing to meet it at the level of faith. You have to be willing to put your faith to work. Somewhere in the scripture, I believe it says, faith without works. And so sometimes our work is in making our desire stronger than the fear. And how many of you know that desire is of the Father? So then it is our faith in the Father that helps us to overcome the fear. Are you still with me? Fear can be powerful. Fear is, as Michael Pritchard said, just a little dark room where negatives are developed. Fear can be powerful. The second thing I need you to do as you commit yourself to being a dreamer, the first is to be a dreamer. The second is to be willing to endure the difficulty. You have to be willing to endure the difficulty. You got to be willing to endure the difficulty. If you're going to make your dream manifest, please know right here, right now, that there is going to be some challenge. I want you to know that it's okay to want the water. you have to be equally desirous in having the wet. See, some of us want the water, but we don't want the wet. And those two things always travel together. I love the story of Darrell Andrews. Darrell Andrews was a young man who went to high school in Syracuse. And he was not a very good student, but he was a pretty good athlete. And so Darrell wound up going to a college. He was the first in his family who had ever actually been pursuing a bachelor's degree. But what happened to Darrell happens to a lot of us. Once Darrell got down to the university, Darrell began to experience the freedoms of being out from under your parents' roof. And as the freedoms kicked in, his focus froze up. It wasn't too long before Darrell was doing poorly, and doing so poorly, in fact, that he wound up dropping out of school. After dropping out of school, Darrell returned back to New York, and he got a job as a dishwasher. And listen, there's nothing wrong with being a dishwasher if a dishwasher is what you do. As a matter of fact, for the dishwasher, be the best dishwasher that you can be. But one of the things that Darrell realized was that he was settling, say settling. He was settling for life as a dishwasher, and he said that one of the things that being a dishwasher gave him lots of time to do, it gave him an opportunity to dream about where he wanted to be and what he wanted to do. And so as a dishwasher, Darrell began to take another look at what he wanted from his life. He bumped into a high school friend, and his high school friend told him that he was attending Cheney University in Philadelphia, I believe. And so Darrell contacted the coach, and he contacted the school, and he decided that he was going to go to school at Cheney University. But here was the problem. Darrell had this dream, but he ain't had no money. And sometimes your dreams do require funding. Amen? And so he got down to his mom's house, and he had a going away party. At this going away party, all of his family and friends congratulated him again. I don't know if you really get two trunk parties, but that's another conversation for another time. And as he was heading to Philadelphia, he only had enough money for a bus ticket, and he didn't even have any luggage, so he put all of his belongings in five plastic bags. So now here, this once young, promising athlete was now restarting his life and restarting his dream, as he has just enough money for a one-way ticket, and he's got 5 bags full of stuff. He said that once he arrived in Philadelphia, he almost got hit by a trolley car because he didn't know what it was and he had never seen it before. When he got to the campus to register, the registrar said to him, have you registered before? He said, no, here is what it's going to cost. He said, I don't have any money, but you do. The registrar didn't hear him quite right. She let me make sure I understand what you said. You're here to register, but you don't have the money to pay. He told them his situation, and they gave him a room for the night. The next morning, he was able to meet with the business department, and the business department found a scholarship for him, and they found some Pell Grants for him, and he was able to enroll in school. Just 4 years later, he graduated from school with a dream and 5 bags. See, I don't know about what it is you might be carrying to your next destination, but I do know that you don't have to let the how keep you from moving in the way that God has designed for you. Here is what I do know. If you have the ability to endure the difficulty, if you will show up, God will meet you there. And if you will show up, God will begin to speak into the people that you encounter to let them know that you're a dreamer. And so you've got to be willing to endure the difficulty. No matter what your background is, you got to be willing to endure the difficulty. Because natural diamonds are only made from under intense pressure. And as a dreamer, you have to anticipate that there's going to be some difficulties. And sometimes when things get difficult, one of the things that we want most is to hear from God. Talk to me, God. Speak to me, God. Help me, God. I need to hear from you, God. But I want to just remind you that oftentimes the teacher stays quiet while you're taking the test. And the GPS usually only gives directions when it's time for you to change. So if you are on course and you don't hear from God, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. Perhaps it just means that you're right on course. Just keep going. Just keep plugging away at the test. Just stay on track. Stay in your lane. Just stay the course. And when it's time for you to turn, the voice will say turning left in a half a mile. When it's time for you to move from one lane to the next, it will say to you, move right. Because God will never fail you, nor will God forsake you. But you've got to be willing to endure the difficulty. Dr. King said, in order to endure the difficulty, again, it's going to require faith. I love that he said faith is taking the first step without seeing the staircase. And in the human natural, from the conscious awareness of human beings, it's easy to have the courage to take the first step when the whole staircase appears. See, it doesn't take a lot of faith to take these steps because these steps already appear. But when you find yourself faced with a condition where the first step is there but none of the other steps are, you don't know what to do. Do I jump? Do I sit? Do I pause? Do I stay? Or do I find a way to take the next step? My God. Because here is what I know. If you will take the first step, God will be there to undergird you at the next step. And even if the step does not appear, the Spirit of the living God will pick you up and carry you to where you need to go. I don't know who I'm talking to today, but I believe that if you will dream and stretch just a little bit more, if you will endure the difficulty, if you will have the tenacity, what you will find is that God will meet you at the level of your growth. But you've got to have the dexterity to overcome the difficulty. I would not have you believe that it's going to be easy. I would never have you show up in this place thinking that the woman who was a part of making this had it easy. She made it look easy, but it wasn't. He might even make it look easy, but it ain't. It's hard work. There's difficulty. There's challenge on every side. But we're supposed to walk by faith and not by sight. And when you walk by faith and not by sight, what you find is that God will help you see what the next step is that you're supposed to take. You've got to be willing to endure the difficulty. The final thing you have to do if you're going to be a dreamer and manifest your dreams, you got to be willing to own the opportunity. You gotta be willing to own the opportunity. You've got to be prepared to maximize the moment you've been praying for. There's nothing worse than praying and the moment shows up and you won't take advantage of it. Now God is trying to figure out, how come you've been doing all that praying and now you won't move? Don't call me next time. No, he doesn't really say that. He doesn't really say that. He doesn't really say that. All this praying, all this crying and carrying on, and you won't even move. But I love the wisdom writer in Proverbs who said, keep straight the path of your feet, and your ways will always be assured. So you have to be a steward of your time and your talent as a dreamer. As a dreamer, hear me, as a dreamer, if you're going to make your dreams manifest, please hear me. You don't have time to waste on other folks' stuff. If you're going to be a dreamer, if you're going to manifest what is in your soul to manifest, you don't have time to spend with other folks' stuff unless your dream is about being in other folks' stuff. God don't give that dream to everybody. That's just a select group of people who get that dream. But we have to be willing to own the opportunity. That's why I love Dr. Benjamin Mays, who said, I've only just a minute. 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it. But it's up to me to use it, because I must suffer if I abuse it. Give an account if I lose it. It's just a tiny minute, but my life is in it. See, what he's saying to us is that there is no moment that is not significant to you. There is no thought, hear me, there is no thought that comes into your head that you don't have to take responsibility for. There is no word that comes out of your mouth that is not packed with the life and creative capacity of God Almighty. And so we have to be able to own the opportunity so that we can get the most out of what we've been called to do. Speak life to your dreams. Talk about your dreams with people who want to see it come manifest. Stop sharing your story with people who don't care. Not only that, stop complaining to people who don't care. Because 90% of the people don't care, and the other 10%, they glad you're going through it. So be willing to own the power of your spoken word. I love when Sojourner Truth said that we have to be willing to eliminate anything. Well, she didn't say this. This is me saying this. Like, Sojourner sound pretty current. I'm saying we have to be willing and able to eliminate anything that would keep us from manifesting our dream. I want to challenge you to eliminate any excuse that would keep you from manifesting your dream. I want to encourage you to get out of the role of victim. Get rid of anything that would keep you from manifesting your dream. Don't stay in doubt. Don't be a victim, and don't make excuses. You've got to be willing to own your opportunity. And sometimes, say sometimes. Sometimes the deck is going to be stacked against you. Sometimes there are people who will be actively working against you. You heard me say it before. It's a shame to tell somebody to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when you stole their boots. But that's what happens sometimes. Sojourner Truth said, if I have a container that can only hold a pint and you have a quart, it would be mean to not let me get my little half measure. But there will be people who are planning and scheming to keep you from your half measure. And you still have to not let that stop you, because here's what I know. They might be against you, but one with God is a majority. They may not be pulling for you, but if God is for you, who can be against you? If God gave you a dream, then it's so that you can make that dream manifest. And you have everything you need, or you have the potential to become what you must in order to make it manifest. So stop crying and stop complaining. As a matter of fact, turn your inner complainer to an inner coach. When it starts talking to you crazy, you know that voice. That voice that says to you, you're not worthy. That voice that says to you, you're not smart enough. The voice that says you don't have the right connections. The voice that says you don't deserve to run with this crowd. The voice that says this circle is not your circle. The voice that says you are to be out and not in. When it starts to talk to you, tell it to shut the heck up. Because I believe that there is something that will speak to you if you will but listen. And when you hear it, know that it won't scream. It's going to whisper real soft and silent to you. It'll say to you, I'm a present help in time of need. It'll say to you, surely I know the plans I have to you, plans to prosper, heal, bless, and increase you, to give you a future with hope. It'll say to you, the kingdom is yours and it's already within you if you will but listen. because you can't listen to two things at the same time. And so I want to just, I stopped by this morning. I stopped by this morning, and I'm going to stop by next week too. Yo, actually, no, I won't. I'll be in New York next week. But I stopped by this morning to say dream big dreams. I stopped by this morning to say reconnect with your inner dreamer. I stopped by this morning to say prepare yourself, put on the whole armor of God so that you will be able to endure the difficulty. I stopped by this morning to say it's up to you to own your opportunity. Because if you will do what must be done, you will go where most have never been. If you will let the presence of God in you as a dreamer take you to where he intends for you to go, everything that you've been praying about is already at hand. And so all I want to know today is, are there any dreamers in the house? God bless you.